Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the Lakers. Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the Lakers. Right on to the real, much love to these haters. It's time for the Lakers, it's time for the Lakers.
Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Friday. And TGIF, man, and first and foremost, man, let me apologize for being in a brief hiatus over the past few days. Your boy needed a break, had a lot going on, as you all know. Had some things going on with my son, had to go to his final hearings to get everything taken care of. So he will be away from me for a short time, but I know what cannot kill you can only make you stronger. So continue to send positive blessings and vibrations my way. It is much appreciated now. And I want to send positive vibrations and blessings to you as well. Now, with all that being said, y'all know that the Lakers have been falling off and steadily slipping in the standings as of late. And we're going to talk more about the game on yesterday. But before that, I just want to state that, hey, y'all can get on me, please, because I like holding myself accountable. And I know at the beginning of the season, I said, it's just preseason. And then I know I said, man, it's just wait till Christmas, you understand me? And then I said, well, now I'm saying wait till All-Star break. So let me just push that timetable out a little bit more. And we all know Russell Westbrook said that once you get in the playoffs, everybody is 0-0. And that's a damn fact. So I like that mentality and I like the confidence. And I do want to say this, the way that Anthony Davis has been playing since he returned, because he was not playing like that before at the beginning of the season for whatever reason. So maybe he has a better sense of urgency now. So if he plays like that and LeBron James plays the way that he was playing before he went out, then the Lakers are going to be just fine. And I guarantee nobody is going to be wanting to see them in the first round or any round as far as I'm concerned. And that means Phoenix too. Nobody worried about Phoenix. I know they match up well, but as long as Anthony Davis and LeBron James are healthy, I think the Lakers actually still match up very well with them. As long as you play more of your bench players. Now, of course, the Lakers did lose Carmelo Anthony last night, who has been playing well as of late, and not so bad on the defensive end, because we know Carmelo has usually been a defensive liability, and I won't say quickness with feet, but he got back into some plays last night that he could have been out of. And also he's been very active with his hands as far as swiping for the ball and being active on the glass, getting rebounds whenever the ball was anywhere near his vicinity. And let's not mention, of course, what he does so well is score the ball, and he had been scoring at a pretty good clip for the most part. And he looked like he was well on his way to doing that last night, because the Lakers could have used that extra energy of points. Now, I will say this, Trevor Ariza did enter the game, which I was so happy that he had not been playing, because, of course, I called for his benching. And, of course, Reggie Miller wanted to put so much praise on him, as if Trevor Ariza was some kind of knight in shining armor who came up and, of course, gave the Lakers life and energy. Now, I will say this, he didn't play bad. He hit a nice three. He missed his first shot, and he came back down on another attempt with no hesitation at the top of the key and made it. As long as he can make his shots, even at 38 to 42%, somewhere in there, anything over 35 or 36% for the Lakers is good. So if he can get in that range, the Lakers could definitely use him. His lateral movement on his defense had been poor, but of course we all know he was coming off injury and being out for COVID. But it all depends on who you match up against as well. So last night he didn't do bad at all. The only thing I would critique him on that he could have did better, but that's hindsight is 2020, was on one of the last plays of the game. Of course, we know Morris hit the corner three, and I mean, it wasn't like he did a big ball fake. He just kind of took the ball like he was gonna go up. He didn't go up with the fake or nothing. He just did like this, and Trevor Ariza jumped off his feet and allowed him to reset, get behind the three-point line, and make that shot. It was a deadly shot, and I just wish he would have closed out to him and played more fundamentals with his hands and his arms raised up, closing out to the shooter without leaving his feet, especially on the three-point line. And if he would have closed out to him without leaving his feet and stayed in front of him, then Morris wouldn't have been able to get that shot off cleanly, and also he wouldn't have been able to go baseline. So let that be made known. And I'm going to get into that last play of the game here in just a bit. But just kind of more focusing on what I was saying before about Anthony Davis and LeBron James. If Anthony Davis can play, the past few games, Anthony Davis kept averaging like 30 points a game. Last night he had 30 points and 17 rebounds. So if he can dominate the glass like that and get you 30 points, now just everybody, I'm gonna ask a question and be honest with yourself. Had LeBron James been playing last night and Anthony Davis gave you what he gave you, do the Lakers win that game? I say the Lakers win that game running away, especially since what LeBron James had been giving you up to that point. How many games with 25 plus in a row? You know, he would have gave you another 25. I'm telling you, the Lakers are going to be a hard team to beat because the duo Anthony Davis, I mean, I liked them in the playoffs. The first time they was in the playoffs, they won a championship. The next time they was in the playoffs, Anthony Davis got hurt, so we weren't able to see it. So this year, it'll be very interesting to see. You know, how it all plays out if LeBron James and Anthony Davis can be completely healthy. And what Carmelo went out with last night seemed like more of a hamstring. And with a hamstring, typically that's going to take a few weeks, at least 2 or 3 weeks. It's probably not a tear, so it didn't look that bad. Probably just a pull, so maybe a slight pull, but that's something you don't want to come back too quick from because that's something you can easily re-aggravate. So I'm sure the Lakers are going to take their time and give Carmelo Anthony all the treatment he needs to be able to get back in the fold. But to me, that's not just such a bad thing because I'm a major proponent of how Stanley Johnson has been playing as far as his defensive prowess and what he does for the Lakers. And I just feel like that's going to boost his minutes, which would be good. One thing that I didn't like from Frank last night was THT was actually playing well. He had shot 4 out of 7, 57%, and even made a three-pointer. He had been playing a little bit better the past couple of games, and yet you only gave him, 18 or 19 minutes. And I know Monk started the game, but Monk started cold, which he hit some big shots and did some things at the end, of course, really helped that Lakers rally towards the end. But I would like to see THT in there a little bit more, especially when Avery Bradley is struggling, because you need your young legs. And Avery Bradley didn't have it last night. Of course, he came out and hit a 3 on the first play of the game, just like he did previously in the game at Portland. My apologies for not doing a video on yesterday. Like I said, I had a lot going on with my son to not be able to break down that win. So it would have been nice to break down a win, considering that the Lakers are 1-4 in the past 5 games without LeBron James. So we can see how much they can continue to hold on if the Lakers will get healthy. So now I want to focus on 2 things that happened at the end of the game. And I don't know how much I fought Frank Vogel on this or Russell Westbrook, but there's 2 things on Russell Westbrook. First is on the last offensive play of the Lakers that was drawn up out of the timeout, which the Lakers should have had more than one timeout. I think Frank Vogel uses too many timeouts a lot of times, but should have had another timeout in his back pocket. But of course they lost the challenge, I believe, or no, they won a challenge, but either way. But they lost the timeout because of some rule I cannot remember, because it was in the first minute or something. To me, that made no sense to me. But at the end of the day, they won the challenge, but they were out of timeouts. But anyway, the play when they came out of timeout, it was a nice play that they drew up where they got Anthony Davis to the basket and a nice alley-oop thrown from Russell Westbrook, setting that all up. My only problem with that play is, and that's what I'm saying, I don't know whether or not to blame Frank Vogel for this or not, or blame Russ for this, is it was way too much time left on the clock. Like, that put you up by 1. You're only down by 1. A 2-pointer puts you up by 1, and you draw it up to perfection. I would have liked, before that action got going, which, you know, I think they caught them by element of surprise because maybe the Clippers didn't think that they were going to go that quickly, and that's how Davis was able to get to the basket and get in front of the defender with nobody between him and the rim, because maybe they weren't expecting that action to come so quickly, giving them a last shot. However, the Clippers were out of timeouts as well, and we all know what happened in the ensuing play. But my point to that is, Lakers really should have dwindled that time down. I was already thinking, you know, they should dwindle the time down to maybe about 5 or 6 seconds left, And that way, if you so happen to miss whatever you've drawn up, it gives you a chance for a tip in, an offensive rebound, and a putback, or maybe kicking it back out to an open shooter for a shot to be able to win the game. However, that was simply not the case. That was simply not the case because they just went way too early in the action. So, you know, I don't know who to put that on. If I'm gonna put that on Russ or Frank, maybe, you know, Frank drew up the play, which was a good play. But at the end of the day, they just got into the action way too quick, and Russ saw it and he took it. So at the end of the day, I won't fault him too much for it. But there's one thing that I really do want to fault him for, and Charles Barkley and Shaq had an argument about this. They had an argument about this after the game, in which, you know, they were saying Reggie Jackson, who's a phenomenal player, by the way, and Reggie Jackson, man, he broke my heart before Memphis OKC playoffs, triple overtime, man. This dude just went off, man. I was there in person. One of the heartbreakers of all time for me. So I'm not too fond of Reggie Jackson, you know what I mean? But, you know, him and Dennis Schroeder is twin brothers out here, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, now that's my joke for today. But anyway, my point is Reggie Jackson called for the mismatch. He got the switch that he wanted, getting Austin Reeves on him, which Austin Reeves, by the way, played hella defense all game to me. And I think that was a big part of the comeback. Not really Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza played a part in it, but Austin Reeves, I'm telling you, closes out on shooters. He does what he has to do. He stays with his defender. Now, there was a lot of times in which, you know, Reggie Jackson might take advantage of him because he's a vet going against a rookie, and that's going to happen. But there was still good defense being played. But as you all know, good offense is going to be good defense. You understand what I'm saying? When it's that good of a shot, sometimes it's just nothing you can do about it. And in this particular case, when he got the switch and got Austin Reeves on him, he went baseline. And to me, I agree totally with Charles. You know, that's not always the case, but I call it like it is. I agree with Charles that Austin Reeves did everything he was supposed to do because Reggie went baseline, so Austin cut off the baseline. Now, Reggie is a hell of a player, so at this point, you know it's only a few seconds left. So I saw Russ coming over for the double team, and I thought in my mind, oh yes. I said, Russ coming for the double team. If he try to spin back to the outside towards the basket, there's going to be somebody there waiting for him, and he's going to have to pass out to somebody else, and it's going to be running out of time, and they're going to rush a shot, and the Lakers are going to win. But instead, Russell Westbrook comes on the double team to swipe at the ball for what? If Russell Westbrook had a higher basketball IQ, but people like Shaq don't want to hold Russ accountable because then he might get into his feelings, you know. But I'm pretty sure LeBron James was at home watching the game, and as soon as he saw that play, which I don't know if he's gonna have a conversation with Russ or not, but I'm pretty sure the coaching staff and LeBron will have that conversation with him and say, listen, if you get in this situation again, make sure that you seal off a lane. That's the thing, because basically what happened is he went baseline, Austin Reeves cut off the baseline, so then Reggie Jackson spins out of it, spins around to, what do you know, no resistance, and lays it in. Malik Monk almost jumps up and makes a hell of a play on the block, but he couldn't get quite high enough because Reggie Jackson knew to throw that thing up high off the glass, because that's how cold-blooded he is. And, you know, the thing about that is, if Russ had just, I wish I had a telestrator where I could show you. If Russ had just came, y'all go back and pull up the play. If Russ had just, when he came over to help on defense, he could have just put his hands up and kind of held him there, and then he wouldn't have had anywhere to go, and maybe could have got a tie-up or anything, or forced him to pass out of the double team. But you come into a double team trying to swipe the ball, like that could, for one, be a foul if you end up swiping the arm or anything. But all he had to do, if he saw that he was going baseline, was to cut off any other path to the basket. To me, that's common sense. And that's what even Charles said. And Charles was like, look, I don't blame Russ. He played a hell of a game, but I'm an analyst, and I'm going to call this play like I saw it. Why come for help if you're not even in the play? He basically did both of y'all. He made you look stupid. Now, Austin Reeves, you know, he got spent on, and I understand what Shaq's saying. Maybe he could have moved his feet laterally and got back. But like I said, good offense is going to be good defense, because, and that's why you need double teams. and stuff like that. Because if somebody playing better offense over outstretched hands of a defender and they just make a better shot, then it's better offense. And that's what he did. Reeves played good defense there by doing what he was supposed to and cutting off the baseline. But the thing about it is, he didn't. Russell Westbrook didn't come and help the way he should have helped. So that's just my opinion on it. Everybody, put down in the comments if you think that that was Russ's fault or Austin's fault. Austin, I mean, could have played better defense had his hand out and been ready for the spin. But at the end of the day, if you helping and you committed to helping, then, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, you can see it both ways. You can say, well, what if Russ didn't help? Then Austin would have just got done in easily. But hey, that is what it is. But my point is, if you're gonna come help, then help. And then not having any timeouts. If the Lakers had a timeout, they were only down by 1. They could have drew up another play similar to what they did before, and they could have got some action going with Anthony Davis to the inside, which would have been a better all-around move. But of course, no timeouts by Vogel, and that is what eventually led to the Lakers losing that game. Anthony Davis had a nice shot at the end, but the touch wasn't quite soft enough. The touch wasn't quite soft enough for the ball to fall, and that's just the way it is. It just be like that sometimes. But at the end of the day, man, like I said, Anthony Davis dropping 30 and 17. Please let him do that when LeBron James back. Please have the same energy, Anthony Davis, because Russ and AD look good together. Russ has been playing a lot more under control, not losing the ball. And actually, he hit a timely 3 last night that they needed, Russ did. So I'm not trying to, you know, just be too hard on Russ because he hit a timely 3. And if you look at it, I think maybe he was 1 for 4 out of 3. But 2 of those 3s, man, they put him in a spot where he didn't have a choice but to shoot it. Whoever it was, I cannot remember, but it was twice when he was past the ball with 2 seconds left, way the hell out there, and he had no choice but to heave it up. So that hurt his statistics, of course, because he's not already the best of 3-point shooter. So you can tell the frustration on his face. He's like, well, damn, don't give it to me with 2 or 3 seconds left. Hell, go ahead and shoot it your damn self. But man, it is what it is. So, you know, at the end of the day, the Lakers still have time. You know, as long as they can stay in that 10th seed, which is crazy to be trying to say, is to get the play-in game. You would like to get them in that 7th seed. I just think it's going to be too late to try to get that 6th seed. I mean, if you look at the upcoming game for the Clippers next games is Milwaukee, Memphis, Dallas again, Golden State, and Phoenix. So the Clippers can really lose the next 6 games. And really should lose it, but I doubt if they will. But I would predict that they go 2-4, or at the best 3-3, because I don't think they're going to beat Milwaukee. I don't think they're going to beat Memphis. I think they can split the ones with Dallas. I don't think they'll beat Golden State, and I don't think they'll beat Phoenix. So they're going to drop, and the Lakers could move up. The Lakers' next games is New York, which is a winnable game. Milwaukee, which I still think is a winnable game if they play the way they're capable of playing. Even without Melo, it'll be harder, but you know, this is opportunity for the younger players to step up, the THTs and the Austin Reeves of the world to step up, which I think they will, and I think they can. And Dwight Howard was a plus last night. I don't know why he didn't get a little more playing time. He was a plus on the floor last night, and you might need him, even though he not really can match up well against Portis, because Portis can stretch the floor. But, you know, Anthony Davis should be able to do that, but they're going to need an extra body, especially with Melo being out. But I think that's what Stanley Johnson is really going to come in and make up for. So the front court, Stanley Johnson and Stanley Johnson and AD will be formidable. Stanley would probably just have to try to do what he can with Portis, even though Portis got him in height. But at the end of the day, the Lakers got New York, Milwaukee, Portland, Golden State, Utah, even though they lost Ingles, unfortunately, to a season-ending injury. That's going to make them have a little less firepower. And of course, the Lakers get their rematch to the Clippers and then New Orleans. So out of those, New York, Milwaukee, Portland, Golden State, I think the Lakers, depending on if LeBron James can come back, that'll be a big difference. But, you know, we got the All-Star break coming up. Once you get past the All-Star break and players can get some rest and can come back healthy, and I want to give shout-outs to Tyronn Lue, too, because, you know, them not having Kawhi and Paul George missing 27 games, they got a hell of a roster, but he got them coached up, and for them to be in the top 5 or 6 in defense, that's something that the Lakers could do. And they say they don't have the personnel, but yet somehow Tyronn Lue is getting the best out of his players. So at the end of the day, you know, the Nets even lost 6 in a row, and they got Kyrie and Harden. That just goes to let you know that the league is different. You can have 1 or 2 star players. That's not necessarily going to get it done anymore because there are so many shooters out here. It's just shooters everywhere you go. So when you got these shooters, then teams are going to spread the floor and they're going to continue to shoot that ball. And it could be a lot of role players you might not even know that's contributing so much that can just get you that many points that, you know, for instance, you know, the Nets losing these 6 in a row, it didn't mean nothing to have Kyrie and Harden. And then Harden didn't get many points, so yeah, I saw what happened there. But that's a conversation for another day. But man, as always, man, it's been your boy B New. Try to not take so many days off next time and get things going, man. But like I said, everybody needs to decompress sometimes. But like I said, always, it's your boy B New saying right on to the real and much love to these haters. I'm out.